Welcome to the Ozarks, Mr. President. It's a thrill to have you here. I noticed when your limo came in, the sun came out. Obviously, you brought it with you. We're just absolutely delighted that you have come here to talk about jobs and the economy and to listen to us. I also have the privilege of introducing the panel today. On your far left, we have Gary Brown, who is a warehouse supervisor with SRC Automotive. We have Teresa Noblet, who is a staff accountant and with SRC Automotive. To my right, we have Tricia Durgis from, help me with, I did it again.
Mostly Memories.
Mostly Memories. And we have Mike Sadler, who is with Custom Manufacturing and Polishing.
Good, well, thanks.
Nice.
And old George W. from Washington. Jack, thanks for having me. I want to thank the good folks who work here for allowing us to disrupt your day to talk about our economy and how it works. Hopefully out of this discussion, people will learn better how people make decisions with their own money or decisions with investors' money. I hope people come away from this discussion with this great sense of optimism about the future for our country. It's exactly what I believe. I believe we ought to be so this ought to be a lot of fun. I am thrilled to be here with the two United States Senators from Missouri, Kit Bond and Jim Talent. I appreciate their friendship and thanks for coming. Congressman Roy Blunt, who you know well, is with us today. He's a man who knows a good deal. I said, would you like to fly down to your hometown on Air Force One? Guess what his answer was? I appreciate the mayor coming. Tom Carlson. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. Fill the potholes. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, you didn't ask for any advice. But I also want to thank the other state and local officials and community and business leaders for coming here. Thank you all for coming as well. Before I begin to talk a little bit about the economy and then, of course, have our panelists talk about what they think and some of the decision-making they made, I want to introduce a fellow who you may or may not know. His name is Travis Morrison. Travis, why don't you stand up right quick? I guess you know Travis. I didn't until I arrived. I know a lot of people like Travis. See, Travis is a person who takes time out of his life to volunteer in your community. When the tornadoes hit here, he went up to help those who suffered. When people are looking for food, particularly children, he's willing to take time out of his life to fill the knapsacks full of food for the kids. He walks for the March of Dimes. He works for the United Way. He's a soldier in the Army of Compassion. A lot of times this country talks about our strengths, and we talk about the military strength of America, and that's important, and we're going to keep us strong. We talk about how fat our wallets may be, and that's important too. But the true strength of America is found in the hearts and souls of people like Travis. People who are willing to love their neighbor just like they like to love themselves. I like to talk about the Travis Morrisons of the world because everybody can be a soldier in the Army of Compassion. Everybody can make a difference. This country's strength is found in the faith centers, and neighborhoods, and community centers where people help somebody who hurts. And one of my jobs is to lift that spirit of America and invigorate it and to call people to action. One of the best ways to do so is to remind people that in Springfield, Missouri, there are thousands of people like Travis. And if you want to help your community, help make somebody's life a little brighter. Travis, thanks for what you do. Thanks for being a solid, sound American by volunteering to help somebody who hurts. Speaking about strengths, our country has been through a lot over the last 3 years. I just want you to think about what the economy has been through. In March of 2000, the stock market started to decline. And that matters if you own stocks. And a lot of you do. You own them through your retirement accounts, for example. It's the indication of the rough times ahead. See, when the stock market sometimes indicates, is a predictor of the future, and sure enough, in the first quarter of 2001, the country was in a recession. And when you're in a recession, it means somebody is not going to be able to work. Things are going backwards. The economy is in decline. People are starting to get laid off. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. People just aren't sure what their future looks like. It's tough times when the country is in a recession. We started to recover from the recession, and then we got attacked on September the 11th, 2001. In other words, we had tough economic times to begin with, and then the enemy hit us, and that changed us. Really did. It hurt us economically. It changed our whole outlook about the world. Perhaps by now you're beginning to get an impression of how it changed my outlook. It changed the way I look at the threats to America. It reminded me that my most important duty, my most solemn obligation, is to protect our country and the people. I'll never forget the lessons of September the 11th, and when I see a grave and gathering threat to the United States, we will deal with it. We will deal with it for the good of our country. The war on terror it goes on, unfortunately, but we're going to win. We're going to win because America is tough and strong and disciplined and patient. We'll win because we got fabulous men and women in the United States military who are willing to sacrifice for our own security and for the freedom. And then, after we settled in with the new reality of the world, we discovered that some of the corporate citizens in America forgot what it meant to be a responsible citizen. See, when you're a CEO of a corporation, you have a responsibility. Jack knows that, and I suspect he might talk about it. At least when he talks, you'll hear he recognizes that. But we had some people in this country who didn't tell the truth to their shareholders and their employees. By the way, we passed laws, and I want to thank the senators and the congressmen who are here. We passed laws, and now they know there will be a consequence in America for not telling the truth. We expect people in positions of responsibility in CEO America and corporate America to be honest to their shareholders and their employees. That affected the people's confidence. Make no mistake about it. When we started reading that some of these CEOs of publicly held companies lied with the numbers, it affected people's confidence. And then, of course, as you know, I made the tough decision to secure America by, after having gone to the United Nations and after having worked to, given Mr. Saddam Hussein a chance to disarm himself, to do what the world had demanded, we went and disarmed him. But that march to war, the march to war affected the people's confidence. It's hard to make investment. See, if you're a small business owner or a large business owner and you're thinking about investing, and you got to be optimistic when you invest. Except when you're marching to war, it's not a very optimistic thought, is it? In other words, it's the opposite of optimistic when you're thinking you're going to war. War is not conducive to, for investment. And so we've overcome a lot. And I say we've overcome a lot because we're growing. The growth is good. New jobs are being created. Interest rates are low. Home ownership in America is at one of the highest levels ever, and that's positive. People owning their own home. A lot of it had to do with the fact that we cut your taxes. A lot of the reasons why this economy is growing. Make no mistake about it, the main reason the economy is growing is because the entrepreneurial spirit of America is strong and we got the greatest workers in the world. But it helps when those workers have got more money in their pocket. And it helps when the small business owners have got more money in their coffers. And that's what tax relief does. See, when you cut the taxes for the people, when you let them keep more of their own money, it means somebody is going to demand an additional good or a service, and when they demand additional good or a service in our economy, somebody's going to produce that good or a service. And when somebody produces it, somebody's more likely to find work. And secondly, we did some smart things with the tax relief. We said if you have a child, you ought to get help with raising that child, so we increased the child credit to $1,000 per child. It says that we want the tax code to work the right ways. We used to penalize marriage. That didn't make any sense. We ought to be rewarding marriage in the tax code. And so there was a marriage penalty. We help small businesses by encouraging them to invest. But we cut the taxes on everybody. Sometimes in Washington, you see them play favorites. So-and-so gets a tax relief, so-and-so doesn't. My attitude is if you're going to give tax relief, you ought to give it to everybody who pays taxes. And we did that, and it's helping. People got more money in their pocket to spend. You know what I'm talking about. Small businesses are feeling pretty good about their future because there's incentives for them to invest. And by the way, it's very essential for you to understand that when you say cutting taxes on everybody who pays taxes, in other words, you're reducing individual income tax rates, that affects small business. Most small business owners are sole proprietorships or subchapter S corporations, which means they pay tax at the individual income tax rate. So when you hear us talking about cutting individual income taxes, think small business as well. And most new jobs in America are created by small businesses. It makes sense to invigorate the small business sector of this country. If you're worried about job creation, if you're worried about somebody finding work, it makes sense to stimulate the small business sector of this economy, and that's what we did. Now, I want to, before we let Jack talk, he's probably wondering whether or not I'm filibustering. I think that's what you call it in the Senate, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, I do want to talk to you real quick that it's one of the real challenges we face. A couple of challenges. One, my attitude is in order to make sure people can find work that we need to open up markets for U.S. products. I believe we need to have tort reform so that these frivolous and junk lawsuits I know we need tort reform, particularly when it comes to health care. The costs of health care are going up dramatically. And that affects small business owners. It affects employees. One cause of increasing health care costs is the frivolous lawsuits that are running these docs out of business, that are causing people to have to practice defensive medicine. We need medical liability reform now in Washington, D.C. We need association health plans so small businesses can pool risk, so they can better provide health insurance for their employees. We need health savings accounts. We've expanded them in the Medicare law, but I want people to understand they're available now. And it's a really good way for people to buy insurance, whether you're a small business owner and or an employee. People will look into health savings accounts. We want less regulation. We need an energy plan. I mean, we need to be less dependent on foreign sources of energy. If you're a business, you need to have reliable sources of energy available. But I don't know if you know this or not, but the tax relief we passed is set to expire, parts of it. And some of it's going to expire next year in 2005. In other words, the child credit is going down in 2005 unless Congress acts. The marriage penalty is going back up in 2005 unless Congress acts. And that's going to be an interesting part of the national dialogue. I believe we need to make the tax cuts permanent. There are some in Washington that are going to say, let's not make the tax cuts permanent. That means it's going to raise your taxes. When you hear people say we're not going to make this permanent, that means tax increase. Now's not the time to raise taxes on the American people. This economy is getting better. We're showing good growth, good strong growth. Yet some in Washington want to raise your taxes. Make no mistake about it. Let me tell you what's going to happen when they raise it. They're going to say, oh, we got to raise it so we can pay down the deficit. They're going to raise the taxes and increase the size of the federal government, which would be bad for the United States economy. People got to understand and listen to the rhetoric carefully. When they say we're going to repeal Bush's tax cuts, that means they're going to raise your taxes. And that's wrong. And that's bad economics. Anyway, that's enough from me.
I'm stimulated.
Yeah.
I'm stimulated.
Now, I'm not interested in you being stimulated. I'm interested in the economy being stimulated. And since you're an entrepreneur, see, one of the things that's fabulous about this country is people can start their own business. We want people owning something in America. We want you owning your home. We want you owning your own business. We want you owning your retirement account or your health care plan. We want you managing your affairs. And Jack understands what it means to own something. He's an entrepreneur. He's a risk taker. And as a result of being an entrepreneur and a risk taker and somebody who's actually made it happen in a positive way, he's also an employer. He's hiring people. So, Jack, thanks for letting me come by.
It's nice to have you here. You are definitely the toughest act to follow I have ever had in my entire life.
I think you can handle it.
Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about SRC and the people at SRC. And I totally agree with you. It's all about the people. In 1983, we were faced with a very difficult decision. We were working for a Fortune 500 company, and the unemployment rate at that time was 11%. A lot of people forget about that. And interest
Today,
rates,
by the way, 5.6%.
and going down, down. Interest rates were hit at peak at 1 month at 22%. And when interest rates were high, it was really hard to get capital. And a lot of Fortune 500 companies were downsizing, right-sizing, and we got caught in that crunch. And we had kind of a passion for the people in the Ozarks. We kind of fell in love with them. We wanted to stay here. We wanted to build a house, a family. So we let an employee buyout to try to buy the company, which was a tremendous feat because you couldn't get money, you couldn't borrow money. If you couldn't pay the interest expense on it. And we went on an odyssey. We went on a financial odyssey where we went to 54 financial institutions all over the world to raise money. And we were turned down by virtually every one of them. And then we found a lucky bank. Oh, how lucky that bank was. And we booked the worst buyout in corporate America, leveraged buyout. We borrowed $8.9 million with only $100,000 down of employees' money, which is an 89-to-1 debt-to-equity buyout, and put us behind the eight ball. Obviously, you're now sitting there saying we had to do something different at that time, and we did. In the odyssey of raising capital, we saw a different perspective of business. We saw the investment side of business. We saw a different report card that we had been taught when we were manufacturing and making things. We used to be great makers of trucks and tractors, but we were never exposed to making a business. We were never exposed to what it took and what were the grades that we needed to achieve in order to be successful. And we made a promise to ourselves. We said if we got this business, we'd promised that every day we'd teach people business. We would teach them what we had learned in this transformation of going from a manager to an owner, that we would create a business of business people, that we would allow people to think and act like owners because that was the gifts that we had in terms of our society. And we promised we'd open up our books and show them what it took to win and what it took to succeed. We felt that we had spent 14 years running between the 20 and the 20-yard line. We never knew what the goal line was because no one taught us what the goal line was. We saw the goal line. And so we opened up the company on February 1st, 1983, and the first thing we did is we told them what debt to equity was. We had $8.9 million on one side, $100,000, and nobody quit. They should have, but they didn't. And they worked hard every single day, and they came in and they learned what it took to succeed. And in that 22 years of teaching people financials and teaching them accelerated learning process to get them to get what it is we really have, we spun out 42 companies. And most of the companies we were able to spin out were a result of the people that had learned about business and created and became innovative. And that's what we needed. We were great optimizers, but we were lousy innovators until we understood what business was all about. And since that period of time, we've been very fortunate because the more we taught, the more they taught us. And as a result of that, we've had a tremendous ride for 22 years. We've been able to be profitable 21 of those 22. We created a lot of jobs. We started out with about 119 people, and today we have over 900 people throughout the businesses throughout the state of Missouri. This facility here, it manufactures engines for race cars and boats and cars, and started about 5 years ago, and it was an idea that some of our people had to spin it off and create diversification and create additional ownership and create new jobs and new opportunities and good paying jobs. Today it has 120 people, and it has a very, very bright future. It's looking at an 18% growth factor next year. It's looking at adding jobs. We definitely increased our capital spending in the fourth quarter of last year. We definitely wanted to take advantage of the bonus depreciation. I think this company, we accelerated machine tools and places for our people to work and to become more productive, and we were able to take those credits, and we actually they come back here in a bonus program. So they can take those credits and they can go spend them, and they can make a difference. And I think that that's what this enterprise is all about. It's about creating a business of business people, getting people to think and act like owners, and then allowing them to have the opportunity to really experience the great country that we have and the great opportunities we have in front of us.
Thanks for your vision.
Thank you.
He said bonus depreciation. That means it was a tax relief passed by Congress.
It was.
Encouraged him to invest. When he buys a piece of equipment, somebody has to make the equipment, which means somebody's more likely to find a job. So when Jack makes a decision to buy a piece of equipment based upon the tax relief, it really says I'm going to not only help my workers become more productive, which means better pay over time, but it means somebody's going to have to make the equipment. And that's how the economy works. It's an economy that responds to the decision-making process of a lot of people around the world. Like Jack, he said he's going to add employees. That's great. That's what I'm hearing all over the country. 10 people here, 15 people there, but it adds up in America. It adds up because there's a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of small businesses. In order to figure out how this economy is going to do and whether or not to be upbeat about it, just listen to the business owners, the small business owners who are on the leading edge of hiring folks. We got a fellow here named Mike Sadler. Mike's the president of Custom Manufacturing and Polishing. Why don't you tell us what you do?
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Custom Manufacturing and Polishing is a stainless steel fabricator of food equipment for the food and dairy, pharmaceutical, transportation industry. We were started in 1992 with 3 employees and 1 piece of equipment. My partners and I, Kathy Garten, Richard Lassiter, and I purchased CMPI in 1999. At that time, it had $1.4 million in sales with 17 employees. Today, we're $3+ million in sales with 25 employees, 3 of which have been added in the last 2 months. We are experiencing a tremendous increase in business as we're speaking. Started about 4 to 6 weeks ago. Our guys in our shop are working today on an average of 9.5 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And we see no downturn in that as far as we can see in the future, as far as we can forecast. It's a tremendous thing. One of the other things that we do here is we're a polisher of stainless steel and aluminum products for industry and equipment. We also manufacture handrail systems and metal exterior and roof structures for architectural metal business. Some of which of those things has been Experience Music Project in Seattle, Washington has a bunch of our stainless steel polishing on it. The New England Aquarium in Boston, Massachusetts has got our stainless steel polish on the outside of that building. There's a stainless steel bridge going up in Toledo across the Maumee River. New design from an engineering standpoint, but it needed stainless steel pipe polished to support the cable stays. That was done here in Springfield, Missouri. It's created a tremendous opportunity for this company. One of the things that we've also decided this year with the increase in our business is we've also going to purchase new equipment this year to the tune of $450,000 on a new 72-inch wide sheet and plate polisher. That will allow us to serve many new customers and expand our business even farther. On top of that, we're going to spend about another $100,000 on additional equipment, both for polishing and fabrication. Our accountants have indicated to us that that's going to give us about a $62,000 savings due to the bonus depreciation, which will obviously be used to hire new people to run the new equipment and allow us to continue our growth.
What kind of equipment are you buying?
Well, we're going to buy, again, the 72-wide sheet and plate polisher. It takes about 9 months to get one of those. It takes a long time to build one of those.
Are you in line?
Well, we're in line, you betcha.
That's good.
In additional welders, grinders, polishers, some capital equipment, expansions on our existing polishing equipment. We're going to build a new spin polishing setup to do large diameter heads and shells.
Mike's company is a subchapter S.
Yes, sir.
That's a legal term for they pay tax at the individual income tax rate. So when you hear people talking about reducing the individual income tax rates, you're really cutting taxes on his business as well. That's important if you're interested in job growth, because he's got more money in his coffers, money that will enable him to more likely hire somebody as the demand for his product stays strong, money that will enable him to pay for health care benefits for employees. In other words, money available in the private sector, and particularly in the small business coffers, is money that's going to be put to good use. Money is going to make it easier for somebody to find a job. And I'm telling you, the Congress should not raise the taxes on people that are creating jobs and people that are spending this money wisely. So I want to thank you, Mike, for coming. I appreciate your entrepreneurial spirit. You hiring anybody this year?
We're probably going to get 2 or 3 yet this year.
Yeah, see, 2 here, 3 there. All of a sudden it starts adding up.
You betcha.
All across the country. Tricia's with us. Tricia Durgis is the president and CEO of Mostly Memories.
Thank you.
It's an interesting name.
It's an interesting company.
All right, well, tell us about it.
Well, first, Mostly Memories would also like to welcome you to the Ozarks, Mr. President. Mostly Memories is a $6 million company. We manufacture candles, bath and body, things your wife would love.
Sounds like it.
That's right. I started the company 10 years ago in my attic in my home, and my first employees, that's right, were my family. I actually took 2 products on the market, a sachet that had potpourri in it and a greeting card, and I combined the 2 products to make the first fragrance greeting card on the market. It was a lot of fun. We worked, we took it to market, and we were blessed with great success, good orders, and we brought them back home. And shortly, we couldn't keep up with it as a family. So I enlisted the help of the Christian County Sheltered Workshop. That's a very important thing for me. And I'm proud to say 10 years later, they are still with us.
Fantastic.
Absolutely, wonderful people. We enlisted their help, and then shortly we finally hired our first employee. And that was a scary thing for me because as an employee, you have a responsibility. You feel that responsibility to that person. You care about what happens in their home and food on their table and their children. It's not just somebody walking on the street anymore. It's somebody you're responsible for. But we, thank goodness, kept her very busy. We continued on and grew, and I came home one day to find 3 semi-trucks parked on our street making deliveries. Our neighbors weren't impressed, and neither was the city of Springfield. We received a letter shortly informing us that our home business was no longer a home business. So we shortly found a small warehouse in Springfield, and we moved into that, and that lasted for about a year and a half. I added several more sachet greeting cards to it. Soon we outgrew that space, but at that point we had increased to 4 or 5 employees. We really were excited. When we moved into a new facility that we built in Ozark, we took a small part of it, but it enabled us to expand, and we expanded our growth into the bath and body industry with hand creams and shower gels and soaps, all the good yummy stuff. And then we also went into the candle manufacturing business, which is our #1 product today. Well, that allowed us to expand our growth even more, and we grew, and we were now into 50 states and shipping to 17 countries. And our employees were now up to about 15, 18 employees.
Fantastic.
Then we went into 2 different divisions with the company. One dealt with custom or personalized, where we would take our products and put other companies' labels, celebrities or tourist attractions. So we would put that on our labels.
The Bush candle.
That's right. Just see me afterwards. We actually did, we did actually make a commemorative candle for 9/11, and all the proceeds did go to the community Red Cross. So you're very welcome. Thank you for everything. The other division that we went into is we went more into corporate sales in addition to our mom and pops and regular chain store accounts. We went into corporate. And this, again, advanced our business. And then soon we were approached by some very large corporate giants like QVC, Hershey's, Chocolate World, Precious Moments, Cracker Barrel, and we began doing work for them. Well, shortly we ran into a big problem. No space and not enough employees. And in our area, we have, a very low employment rate. So trying to find employees that many, 4 times the number we needed, was almost an insurmountable task. Well, it so happened at the same time in our community, 2 large companies went out of business. One moved and one closed down. And we were very blessed. The mayor's office, Donna McQuay, and a lot of the officials in Ozark got together, set up stations at the local city hall, took in applications and helped us fill those positions. And many of these were people that had been with these other companies 25, 30 years. So it was a blessing to get those people, and those people are still with us. So that was great. So we continued to go from there, and we moved now. We moved into one of the other buildings that had gone out of business, and went to a 60,000 square foot building and 10 acres, so we don't have to move anymore. We can just build on. But we moved in, and once we moved in, we were branched into another division of fundraising, which allows us to sell wholesale candles and bathy products to schools, sporting organizations and churches, and so that's continuing the growth. Right now, we have about 60 full-time employees. That does go up to about 150 throughout the seasonal times of the year. We expect, because of the fundraising division of the company, to add an additional dozen jobs at least this year, potentially much more. And we see a bright future for this area and for our company. And after 10 years, our 10-year anniversary actually was yesterday. So after 10 years, we are still a very strong Christian family-owned business. All of my family helps. My husband, Dan, is chairman of the board, and my daughter, Jamie, is vice president of the company, and Brandy does photography and all the graphics, and even my little ones, Justin, Callie, Emily, and Derek, pitch in when they can. And we're very happy of that, and we're thankful so much for the tax relief that you have helped with, because we have now been able to purchase, we spent about $60,000 last year on equipment, conveyor belts, fillers, labeling equipment to help make their jobs easier. And this year we project to spend at least $75,000, potentially more, which will also help our employees.
Good,
and
yeah.
I think it will save us about $14,000. Thank you.
Good. Let me just pick up a couple of things she said. One, she is going to invest. I don't want to get repetitive, but I'm going to. Somebody's got to make the conveyor belt. That's how the economy works. When you hear people talk about stimulating the economy, tax relief encourages her to make a decision. And that decision then affects somebody's ability to find work. Secondly, she talked about people who've been laid off. One of the most important things our society must do is to train people for jobs which exist. And I hope that the state of Missouri uses the community college system here in a way that says, let's devise curriculum based upon the needs of the employers so that people can find work. We've constantly got to upgrade the skills of our fellow citizens. As this economy changes, people need to learn new skills, and the best place to do that is a place like the community college. That's why I've called on Congress to provide money for job training, and I'm sure you had to help these people learn their jobs, but it's amazing what happens when people are able to gain new skills and a new lease on life, be more productive as a worker. Higher productivity means better pay. I'll never forget meeting a lady in Arizona where she told me that she had worked 15 years as a graphic artist, went to community college, took some courses, then got employed by a high-tech company and makes more in her first year in her new job as she did after 15 years in her old job. And so education provides ample opportunity for new workers if it's done right. And the best way to do it is to trust the local people, to put a curriculum in place to train people for jobs which actually exist. Mr. Mayor, this is a good way to recruit business, by the way, is if you've got a good worker training program so that the employers know that they can find somebody who can do the job. Speaking about people doing the job, Gary Brown's with us. He's a warehouse supervisor here at SRC Automotive. Thanks for being with us. You got kids? You got?
Yes, a lot of kids.
How many you got?
I have 4 kids.
That is a lot.
Yep. Katie, Keldon, Kylan, and Kendrick, all with good aspirations to continue on. I also have a wonderful wife, Angela, who's also here. And tell you a little bit about myself. We've been here with the company a little over 5 years.
Good.
And started out and working in the assembly line over at our main plant, washing blocks. And through work ethic and just striving to do my best, I was able to come over here day one to work in the warehouse. And through job training at our company and through the open book management that Jack's talked about, we've been able to work my way up into the position I'm at now. And I love every minute. This is a great company to work for. I just told you a little bit about my family. One thing we did with tax credit you gave us last summer, we went and put braces on my daughter. So she was thrilled about that. She was really needed them. But she was.
That's good. No, I mean, he got tax relief. See, everybody who pays taxes got tax relief. They told me about $3,000.
That's right.
That may not sound a lot might not sound a lot to somebody. It's a lot to him.
Yes, it is. Schooled and with a good education.
Yeah, that's first of all, Mom, you're doing that's tough, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate the idea of you wanting to give your children the education from you and the mom.
Yep.
Tax relief helps. $3,000 makes it a little easier for mom to stay at home to help them meet their dreams and aspirations. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if Congress doesn't make this permanent. When the child credit goes back down, this man and his family are going to pay $1,500 more. They're going to get, let me just rephrase that. Instead of $3,000 a year, they're going to only receive $1,500 a year from the government. That's like a $1,500 tax increase. Now is not the time for Congress to be raising taxes on the people.
I'll just to put some talk about my wife a little bit. One thing she also does is she also takes care of my nephew, whose mom's right now serving in the 203rd Engineer Battalion in Iraq.
Fabulous. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Pass the word. The Commander-in-Chief is incredibly proud.
I will. Thank you.
Thank her for her service. And you might remind her when Iraq is free and democratic and peaceful, it'll change the world. These are historic times. These are times where we have a chance to define a more peaceful world for our children. I mean, we'll keep America secure by making the tough decisions, by speaking clearly, and by being strong. But it's also important for our fellow citizens, and people who wear a uniform can attest to this, that a free Iraq, in the midst of a part of the world where there's such hatred, such despondency and hopelessness, will be an historic moment for world peace. See, free societies are peaceful societies. People need to see what can happen when there's a free society. And you tell your relative, sister, you tell your sister, thanks a lot. And it's a meaningful sacrifice she is making.
Thank you.
Teresa, thanks for coming.
It's an honor to be here with you.
You don't have a big family, do you?
Yeah,
How many kids?
4.
Seems to be running here. Is this company policy? You got 5. 6. Yeah. 3, yeah.
Some in the water.
Yeah, that's right. Tell us about yourself. You're an accountant.
Yes, I'm an accountant here at SRC. I've been here for a little over a year. And we spun off a new company this year, SRC Parts Co. Incorporated. I do their accounting also. I have 4 beautiful children, Amber 16, Kyle 15, Austin 5, and Haley 4. I've been married almost 17 years to Jim. And when we received our tax relief check in the mail this year, and we were so excited. We told the kids, pack up, we're going to the beach.
That's good. Where'd you go?
We went to Myrtle Beach and to North Carolina. We came back a couple months later, the interest rates on the home loans hit rock bottom. We bought a bigger house, much needed bigger house. And I am hoping we continue the tax relief so I can help my children go to college.
Yeah, that's good. See, one of the things she's saying is that with the tax relief means she can save more money and put it aside for her kids' education. That's noble and important. See, tax relief can be used to spend, and that's good because it increases consumer demand, but tax relief also is being saved by a lot of our families, and that savings are really important in a society that rests upon the flow of capital. Savings actually is capital to be invested so people can find work. Tax relief is vital. This family received $2,700 in tax relief this year, every year, unless Congress, of course, doesn't act. When the child credit goes down and the marriage penalty goes up, which is going to happen in 2005 unless this Congress acts, makes a decision, does what is right, this good family will pay $1,300, have $1,300 less in money to spend. And it means people in Congress will be spending it. Now, we got plenty of money in Washington. I'd rather have Teresa making the decision with that $1,300 than the people in Congress. She makes wise decisions with her money.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed the conversation. I have. I think one of the things that you hear, if you listen carefully, what these folks are saying is that government policies can make a difference in people's lives in a positive way. The entrepreneurial spirit in this country is strong. I mean, you got people started businesses out of garages, and had people delivering goods in the streets, and they had to kick them out and make them go get in a warehouse, and that takes a huge risk on a giant debt-to-equity ratio, and has succeeded. People buy the company. A man over here buys the company. This is. I love the entrepreneurial spirit in the country, and tax policy has got to encourage it. And we're going to keep it strong here in America. The other thing you hear mothers and dads doing their duty, being responsible citizens by loving their children. Governments need to stand with the moms and dads. We need to be squarely on their side, whether it be sending signals to professional sports teams. We're not going to put up with any, you ought not to be putting up with any steroid use amongst your players. So we got to be supporting the moms and dads who are trying to teach their children the right lessons in life. We also ought to be supporting them, helping raise their kids. And tax relief helps people raise their children. I'm glad you all came. I'm thrilled to be back in this part of our country, great Springfield, Missouri. It's got good folks here, good, honest, down-to-earth, hard-working people that really represent the backbone of America. I'm proud that you all sat up here today and shared your stories with us. I hope that people listening have a better sense of how this economy works, and hope that people listening come away with a great sense of optimism about the future of America, primarily because the great strength of America is the people of this country. And you just heard 5 good people talk about America and where we're headed. May God bless you all, and may God continue to bless this country.